Howdy, howdy, it's the morning howdy, morning howdy.
Howdy guys, welcome to another episode of the Morning Howdy. Like every episode. Howdy. So I want to talk about a certain subject that is not something that should be enthusiastic about. But the topic is street fights. And I felt like this would be an interesting topic for people to want to maybe watch about. Street fights is dangerous. It is never predictable. And the worst thing about it is you never know how far someone will go. Or you never know what someone's intentions getting into one. Or if someone didn't want to be one in at all. A lot of the times I see fights, they stop really quick. Like they don't want to really fight, but they acted like they fight. And then some fights, there's always that one guy who doesn't want to stop, even though he's winning or losing. Doesn't matter. And I wanna bring the past into this. Back in the day, street fights were pretty much life and death. There was no street. It was just a fight. And if you ever think about fighting back in the day, it involved knives, it involved swords. There was really no basic martial arts. It was just destroy, kill, defeat your opponent. And I feel like it was scary, really scary. It's like going into a tribe in the wilderness. They're going to shoot you with the bow, right? They're going to come at you in a horde. There's a lot of cases where these tribe people will kill any outsider trying to come in. Think about all the times in the past. There was this in India. There was this group of people who worshipped a goddess of death, I think it was, and they believed. And this is where the word thug comes from, or thuggies. I think that's what they were called. They would kill people, and they believed it was to balance the evil with the good. And they felt like whoever was in the group, it was a higher purpose to want to kill people. So these group of people would actually, friend the people. They would guide them, and then whenever they had advantage, a group of 3 would go on one person and kill him. And then they would bury him in a certain place where they would bury him. That street fights back in the day were not the same as they were now. You could say they weren't as worse, but in my opinion, I think street fights were a lot worse back in the day. There was no rules. There was no boundaries. You got hit in the eye, you got poked, you got bit, Back in the day, would people even try to stop a fight? Would they just let it happen? You think about how fighting was back in the day. Like I said, swords, arrows, large legions of people. Fights weren't generally with the hands. You had a weapon. And street fights today, there could still always be a weapon. It's a dangerous thing. Yes, I've been into a couple street fights. I've never been severely hurt before in a street fight, thankfully, because I never would have known if someone would have just pulled out a knife instead of just using their hands. It would have just slipped my mind because I thought there were rules. But I guess as you grow older, your mind starts to sharpen, and you get into these encounters. You never know how they're going to end. You can always assume. 2 people in a conflict is always 2 assumptions and only one outcome. And usually both sides know what that outcome is, a winner and a loser. Street fights, there's always 2 losers. Some way, somehow, there's always 2 losers. or one winner. There's not two winners. Two people can fight and become friends. It's a weird thing that happens. And I think it has to do with the adrenaline from a fight. And I don't know what the adrenaline sparks up in someone's mind, but friendships happen from street fights. The peace after war is unnegotiable. It happens. It builds relationships between one another. I had a best friend for a couple years. I had gotten into a fight with him. I ended up calling him, asking if his parents had saw and if he was okay. Because truthfully, I didn't want to fight. I was peer pressured into it. I think this was one of my first fights. And, we were at the football game. I'm not going to give no names. And, a couple friends were like, blah, 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 fight. And, I said, okay, I will. Funny story was, you're going to love this. I had to take a dump. I took a dump and they were like, man, this guy shit his pants. He's getting so scared. I was just like, man, I ate some freaking concession stand food. I gotta go. I gotta feel fresh if I'm getting into a fight. Anyways, I thought it was funny because they were like, man, this guy's scared. I was just like, no. Anyways, we go behind the little football stadium and we fight. I don't really need to get into details, but we kind of just wrestled like on the ground. I hit him 1 or 2 times and I got off. I was just like I don't even want to hurt this guy, and like, what am I supposed to do next? That was in my mind. Like, I just punched him once or twice, and what's next? What am I supposed to do? That's what was my question. So I just got off him and I just kind of was just questioning like what was gonna happen next. Someone recorded it. The video got deleted because I didn't care about the video, and the one who I fought was just like deleted. He got it deleted, and nothing happened out of it besides one person winning and then us becoming friends. That's what happened. That is what happened. We became friends. Just the weirdest predicament ever, and we were good friends. We got in trouble one time. It's unfortunate, but it wasn't serious trouble. But it did inflict our friendship. A fight doesn't inflict a friendship, but something else that's out of our hands does. What are the odds? But there's been a lot of times, and it always ends with what's next. So why? And you always think to yourself, did this really solve anything? No, street fights don't solve nothing. They can for one individual, right? You can think it really solves something. You'd be like, there's revenge, and like I never want to include this because it's its own way of thinking that is just no. I don't even want to experience, but I'm not gonna put revenge because revenge is like you're doing it and you don't care what happens, yada yada. Okay, we're not talking about revenge. We're talking about just out of the blue. That doesn't solve anything. Inflicting damage on someone isn't the answer. It's not the cure. But peace does come from it. But nothing good before that as well as either. I was reading a book about Alexander the Great, and they were pretty much fighting their own neighbors, but their neighbors were, let's just say it was a really intense fight. And after, before the fight, it was sort of like a football game. Like 3 people come in, and they have a discussion. And they're like, well, are we really going to do this? Yada, yada. And they were like, yeah. And they're like, all right, well, we're going to war. We're going to fight. And they went back to their sides and they fought. At the end of the fight, whoever were the survivors, they dropped their weapons. They're like, all right, well, there's no way we're going to fight you and stay alive. So we're going to see what happens. They say they can live, right? But one dude has his arm chopped off. His son is dead, and what is the peace? Where's the peace? It's just like, we're going to let you live, so this is going to cause peace. There's no other conflict going to happen after this. Everyone is dead. Everyone is dead, like, what did we really solve here? And Alexander, it was his stepping stone to go into Persia and take the land that Persia has taken from their Macedonian people or that part of their nation. I'm not going to get into too much detail about it because that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about street fights. I've been in around, I'm gonna just say like 8, 10 fights, and they were not regular go to a place, wear some gloves. They were street fights. I made one or like 2 or 3 friends from a fight, weirdly, um, and I never really hurt anyone. I've never really been hurt. It always ended with like, what? Like, are you done? Like, what's gonna happen? It's just like there's never a point in a fight where I'm just like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and this is what I'm doing. It's not like I'm like I can't justify myself for what I'm about to do. There is none of that. I'm not making any money out of this. It's only damage, and there being a winner, the one who's gonna say he is that's what's important. It's not. There's nothing good with someone's face being hurt, your hands being hurt, the embarrassment from it. I never wanted shame on anyone that I inflicted damage with, besides 1 or 2 people, because there were a couple times where I said, look, I don't want to fight. I don't want to. And they made it into a big deal. They showed up in front of me, ready to fight. What am I supposed to do? Run? There is no running at this given time. I didn't drive. I drove with a friend. So it's just like, what am I do next? So I fight the guy. I didn't want him to be embarrassed. I didn't want to fight. But these are the things that happen whenever you get into a street fight. You don't know what's going to happen. He could have trained. He could have been a professional fighter for all I know. I didn't know anything about him, but he wanted to fight me. These are the things, but I had no other choice. That's how I felt at the time. It was just like, you know what, look, I told you already I'm not going to fight. You're making me have to. So I'm going to have to go the limit I didn't want to go to. Because the way I see a fight is that I'm not going to get knocked out. That's it. That's all I care about. And if I don't care if I get hurt, I don't get knocked out. I'll tell you why. Because anything can happen when you're not able to defend yourself if you're knocked out. Anyone can do anything to you when you're knocked out. I've never been knocked out. I pretended to once or twice in my life. I was like, I was knocked out. But I don't think I was really ever knocked. I've been dazed. Fighting with friends. I've been dazed. But in a street fight, I've always got this like adrenaline rush. Like, right? Like you don't feel anything. So I've never been knocked out. So I know I've seen videos. I've seen it in person. I know what happens when you get knocked out. No one should ever get knocked out. People should be scared to get knocked out. People shouldn't fight for that reason, because hitting someone knowing they get pain is one thing, but knowing someone's going to go potato head is another. You never know if someone's going to commit suicide because they lost a fight. You never know what's going to happen. Someone's going to bully someone next because they couldn't bully you, so they have to find someone else. You never know what's going to happen next. No one should be getting into a street fight. And if you do fight, for whatever reason, they say to wear gloves, because you can fight and not hurt someone. You can still knock them out. That's the thing. You can still knock people out with a glove. That's the main point you don't want to happen. You don't want to ever be defenseless, because it's like you fighting someone with a sword. You're generally almost defenseless. You don't want that, so you don't put yourself in those type of predicaments. I don't want anyone to be in that type of predicament. But generally, you should know how to move the right direction, the other way. We should all be fit for our health and for anything. Say you need to climb a wall because for whatever reason your baby's on the other side and there's a dog running to it, and you never don't have the strength to climb the wall. Just think about an unlikely predicament, but something that could happen, and you being unprepared. It's the same thing getting into a street fight. You want to get into a fight, but you decided to get drunk and the other guy's sober. What now? What predicament did you put yourself in? These are one of the reasons I don't even drink or hang around people who do drink, because fighting comes from drunk people because they act too stupid, too disrespectful, or they get too hyper, and they're around other people, and the tension, tension can rise very quickly with the man who's unstable, who had too much to drink. Because I don't want someone just throwing themselves on me. I don't want to have to, I could always just run away or walk away. But sometimes it's just you can't think that fast. You just got to go forward. The fastest way anywhere is straight. So, everyone should at least be able to run. That's all I want. If you can run, you can get away from a street fight. Just learn how to run. Just run the other way. That is my 100% best advice for this. If anyone wanted to know what happened during my fights, leave a question. I'll gladly make another video on it if you're very interested. If there's nothing special for it, I'd rather not even talk about it. But I feel like people should be able to know how to defend yourself. Because what if, in the sense of not just using your hands, but being in a place or talking to someone who's acting irrationally or someone who's in your face. You find yourself being someone who's super aggressive, just wants to swing on you, just back up. If you know it's the last scenario, walk away, run away. You don't have to fight someone. You still are a winner if you don't fight, because you never lost. This is the concept of staying standing. If you never get hit, how do you lose a fight? If you never played a basketball game, how could you ever lose a basketball game? There you go. There's nothing wrong with running away from a fight. You just don't want to. You have other priorities. Say you have a family at home and you're out with your buddies. You have to get back to your family. You never know if someone's going to pull a knife out on you. You never know if someone's actually going to get a lucky hit. Things happen. You might drink. You never know. You might slip. No one cares if you get knocked out in the streets. No one cares about you that much, but you care about yourself. So why would you get into a street fight? The first thing you should do is love yourself. And if you love yourself enough, you shouldn't want to get into a physical conflict where violence will be put upon your body. Whether it's one time or no times, it's still that possibility, and we should love ourselves to take away from those events. We get into a car and drive around. We put our body in risk. But it's an unintentional event that happens versus a street fight, which is completely intentional, because that's the moment we decide we want to inflict damage on someone because for whatever reason we decided to. But we can make a decision not to. Everyone should hold their pride. Everyone should be accountable for themselves and their self-judgment. So everyone should feel proud about themselves. Everyone should love themselves. Everyone should be doing things for themselves, but not generally just for yourself. Always help the other. But you don't lose pride from getting into a fight. You don't gain pride from winning a fight unless that is your profession. There's always two sides of it. So your friends will say, "Yeah, good job, you're a badass," and the family members of whoever, the girls you thought, they might think like, "Man, why did you have to hurt somebody? I thought you were a good guy. I didn't know you were, the violent type. You never know what your parents might think if they hear about this. They're like, dang, like, well, are you gonna hit us next? Like, how are you gonna solve every situation? If your violence is your first situation, you're gonna live a violent life. I keep it as the last option, but it's always an option. I don't make it not an option. That is my choice. I make it a last resort type of option. Because I know there's people out there that, are just not on the same mindset as me. We all live different lives. We all come from different homes. We all come from different schools, so our way of thinking is going to be completely different from whoever we encounter. You know, it could be a complete stranger who just wants to sucker punch you, and what do you do next? You just always have your self preparation on your back. You always just, you know, you don't have to live your life scared either. But you should always live your life knowledgeable. If you go into a town, you want feel knowledgeable about your surroundings. Know where things are. You need to know where the grocery store is. You need to know where the bank is. If you go walk down a street and you know there's going to be a lot of pedestrians walking by you, you know, I don't know what your preparations would be, but you know, I guess it's just like being in school. You're always walking around people. What kind of preparation are you gonna be so something bad isn't gonna happen? It's just by being respectful. Everyone should be respectful. Everyone should be worried about other people doing the right thing and being accountable for say. How can you be accountable if you let an old lady walk across the street by herself and she gets hit? How accountable would you feel if you were like, damn, I could have walked with her, everything would have been fine? How accountable can you be for your other? How accountable can you be if someone wants to fight you and you try to find the better solution? How accountable would you feel if you did hurt somebody and they didn't wake up? How accountable would you feel if you decide to get in this, you know, this encounter and now you have you have a broken nose and now you don't look the same? How accountable would you feel if you're like, dang, if I just didn't get in that fight? Accountability. It's important. The preparation is always key to anything. And that comes with mentality preparation. Because anything physical becomes mental first. And if you beat the barrier of choosing your physicality route, you just become a smarter individual. Because the best answer isn't a fight. The best treaties aren't always... The best treaties are signed after wars, theoretically. But they would have been an even better one if there was no war. I'll tell you that much. You know, fighting is glorified. There's UFC, there's boxing. It's an art. It's an art used wrongly. Because it's an art used for violence, but it's really the art of using your body to its full potential. That is the real way of thinking about martial arts. It's not the most damage you can inflict on someone else. It's the most energy you can exert using your body to its fullest potential. You see the difference, the way of thinking. Because whenever you could say the monks, the right way to think about martial arts is, so you could say for protection or nirvana, the higher enlightenment. And the only way to reach the higher enlightenment is to keep your mind into its fullest potential state of most realization, the most philosophical state of being. And to being able to be loose and flexible and to exert power with, you know, like I said, being loose. It's a whole other feeling. It's like throwing a perfect leg kick after throwing bad kicks. You get that one feeling. It's like throwing a punch and your hands hurt. You just don't ever feel the power. You're just like, wow, why it's so hard to punch? And then you do one perfect punch and you feel it. It's like, that was my potential I never knew I had. It's like shooting a 3-pointer and it's a perfect swoosh. And you're not a good shooter and you're like, damn, I have the potential to do something perfect. It's the same concept. We could just apply it in better things in life, like as into a street fight. How can you make a street fight into something most beneficial or most potential? It's becoming friends with becoming friends with your enemy. Because we shouldn't have any enemies. And if we do, we should keep them close. Why do we keep our enemies close? To know what if they're our enemies, you keep them close. You gotta know what they're doing. You gotta make sure they're not in your backyard. They're the ones closest to you because you keep up more with your enemies than you do anyone else because you're more worried about them. But if they could become your friends, how do you make friends with your enemy? And you know, violence is technically one answer. I'm not gonna say, because I've literally experienced where violence, I made friends with someone. You know, after wars, there's always peace treaties. There's just another example. So where are the examples of making friends with your enemy? You know, you could make bargains, you can make deals, you could, you know, compromises. There's trying to relate with the other one and just trying to communicate, just knowing what's going on with the other person. And you might find out a lot of things. And if you try to find a way to help them before you try to hurt them, you know, I had a football friend. Well, he became my friend, but I was new to the team. I was really, really skinny. I wanted to be running back. He was another running back. I guess he thought for whatever reason he wanted to fight me. And so he got on social media. He messaged me. He was just like, "Yo, blah blah, let's fight." And like he's on my football team. So let me find a way to help him. I said, "Look, I'm not gonna fight my teammates. I'm gonna prove it on the field. I'm gonna be if you have anything to prove to me, show it on the field. Prove to me that you're better than me. Because I'm not gonna fight my teammates and have conflicts, at home." I told him this. I said, "Look, I'm not gonna fight you. You're my teammate, whether I like it or not." And I said, "I will prove it on the field." And he called me a pussy or whatever. And we never fought. We ended up becoming friends because guess what? I showed him exactly what I said. I said, "Show me on the field." He couldn't get his grades every week. You had to have a high enough grade to be able to play, and sometimes he wouldn't be able to. I think I didn't one week I didn't have my grades right, but every week I had my grades right. I could always play, and he couldn't play. I would always go to the gym a lot. He worked out hard, but I worked out harder. I proved to him what I said was prove it on the field. I did what I said. I proved myself that I'm a worthy teammate. He proved to me that he can work just as hard as me, but I'll push myself harder. I made my enemy my friend. In the long run, I proved to him that I could prove to him that there is no fight is needed to prove that I'm a winner. And I never became a winner. I just proved myself that, look, this guy is not someone I want to fight. Not because I worked hard. It's because he's generally not someone worth fighting. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. He works hard. Why would someone want to fight a genuine guy? Because I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to fight a genuine. I might want to fight a punk, a liar. But I didn't show those things. I proved myself to my own teammates. The people who didn't like me at first. That's what I'm saying. There's other ways to win a fight without ever having to win a fight. The reason I'm bringing up this topic is I re-downloaded. This is my re-downloaded World Star Hip Hop, and I see so many fights. And it never leads anywhere. Someone either gets knocked out, someone gets hurt. The only ones who say he did a good job were his friends. It goes on the internet, and whoever knows the guy is gonna knock people out or whatever, and the person who got knocked out is probably gonna be. But there's always the person who doesn't care. They must not care about themselves, right? Or do they? Do they? I care about myself enough to know that I don't want anyone to be hurt because I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to be knocked out. So why would the person next to me want to knock out? I know that I'm capable of knocking anyone out, but anyone else is also capable of that. Do I know more than the other? Well, I'm not going to pretend like I do because I don't know. So how can I do that? How can I be the most careful? How can I care for myself enough to care for the other guy who I guess I don't hate? Let me give you a story. So I'm at the movies and I'm with the girl and we're just talking. I guess the memory's so fuzzy because I was younger. For whatever reason, I just can't remember word for word. But I guess we got in this baby conflict, and I had mentioned, because I had told her I did a little training or whatever, and he was just like, "Do you think you can beat him up?" I know. I felt like I wasn't cocky. I just felt like I said, "Yeah, I think I could win," or I would win," or like, "Yeah, I think I could." But the thing is, I said I could beat him up. I said I probably would. I said I think I can. All of them are the same. All of them are the same. I said in short term, I can beat him up. We get into an argument, whatever the case is, And she tells the guy that I said that. And then he comes up to me, blah, blah, and I'm like, no, I don't want to fight. Like, I don't have anything to prove. So I'm there, trying to figure out whatever is going on. He's calling me all these names. And like, I just sort of snap. It's just like, man, like this guy is just like, he just got to me. I was mentally weaker then. I was young. I didn't have a true mentor when it comes to these type of things. I genuinely thought about it and developed my own mindset of right and wrong and how to handle situations. And I didn't handle the situation right. I handled it in a very stupid way. So I just explode. I'm just like, take off my shirt. I'm really trying. Like every other time I say I don't want to fight. Like literally, I'm just like, look, I don't want to fight you. There's no reason for me to fight. Like I might have said that, but wouldn't have, I didn't say this. I didn't say this to him. I didn't say, well, you wouldn't have said the same thing, or yada yada. I just, I said it, but it doesn't mean I want to fight. And he's just calling me all these names, blah blah, for no reason. And I snap. I just take off my shirt. We're at the movies. I'm just like, follow me, and I just explode, and I just come at him with super aggression, and we're just fighting and yada yada. And some guys just like, what's it called? Stop fighting. And so we literally stopped fighting. And like I just stopped, and like he stopped too, and then we get to talk, and he comes up to me and just hits me straight in the face, and I just start laughing. I just start literally laughing, and I'm just like, he didn't hurt me. He couldn't hurt me. Like that was my conclusion. I let him hit me. When I didn't really think about this until I was older. I stopped because someone told me to stop. I already knew I shouldn't have gotten into a fight. He hit me, but it didn't do anything to me. I didn't even get mad because he hit me. That was the only time he hit me. It was whenever I stopped, and I almost, when I look back at it, I didn't say he hit me. I pretty much just stared at him straight in the face, didn't move. I got hit, didn't move, and then I just looked at my friend and I just started laughing my butt off. I just laughed hard. I said what I had to say and walked off, and I went in the movies. That's literally how the fight went. I hit him a couple times too, and if you were to say in rounds, because no one got knocked out, who would have won, you would say I would have won. But I didn't even want to get into a fight, and I didn't continue the fight onward. I just stopped. He hit me one time in the eye, and I just laughed, and my friend laughed, and we just acted like nothing happened. Like literally, that's how I acted. It's just like, even though he hit, he was confused. He was literally confused. I think it's funny because when I think about his reaction, he hit me, and he just kind of like, he did his tough face, and I just laughed, and I walked away. And his friend tried jumping me, right? And my friend was fighting him. Like I said, there was a big stoppage or whatever. He hit me, and he's with his friend. I just laugh at him. We walk away, and that was it. I don't think I'm tough for laughing. I don't think I'm cool for it. It's just something that happened, that it's something like that. This is how a street fight ended. How does every other street fight end? It doesn't end that way. That's the thing. Every fight is unpredictable. We shouldn't be in these unpredictable predicaments because we don't know what's going to happen. We can only prepare for these type of things by knowing what's the best thing to do if any of these events do happen. What happened at the end of that? Literally nothing happened besides, me getting my anger out. I wasn't even angry anymore. I thought it was funny at the end of it, just because of how it happened, and how, like, I don't know. I just felt like I didn't even feel angry after we had squabbled, or however you like to say it. I wasn't mad that he had punched me after it was over. I just walked away, laughed about it, and in a way, I didn't even think this at the time. I thought it was so funny. I thought it was so funny how everything happened in that. But I didn't think about it until this day. It was just like, man, I really didn't flinch when he hit me in the face. I really didn't care that I got hit. I didn't want to fight. I don't care about the fight. I don't have anything to prove. I just got mad. I released the anger after hitting him like 7-8 times. I released my anger, and that was it. And the fight was over. How does every fight end? How mad does some people get? Some people will try to kill you if there's no one else there. Some people will try to stomp on your face. Some people will try to stab you or shoot you. You never know. I just felt like that part would be funny to y'all. It's a true story. I was young. Nothing crazy was gonna happen, anyways. What do I think is gonna happen in the future? I think I'll be able to stop fights, prevent them, avoid them, help someone out who's troubled, help someone who is about to get into a conflict. I've been in the conflicts. I know how the outcomes come from it. And I know there's always good from it too. Good can't happen from bad. Bad can happen from good. But how do I make good from bad when I want it to be? When I know there's a problem? How do I fix it? How can we all fix the problem? Whatever it is that's going on in our lives or happening with others. We can prevent something that could be bad. We don't want to see someone get knocked out. We might think it's cool, whatnot, but what if he's our friend? But we don't want to see that happen to our friend. And we're not all friends with each other, but we're all human. So why are we hurting each other if we're all the same? We eat animals, so why, if we really want to eat each other, why aren't we doing that? If we really want to hurt each other, it's a weird concept in the mind. It's just like, if fight, then fight. Then why have a little, just try to hurt each other and that's it? I don't know. But I guess that's just the mindset people have when they're mad. And it's best to be humble. You can get humbled as a saying when it comes to a street fight, but just always be humble. You'll never have to be in a fight. You'll never cause a conflict. You won't ever have to prepare for a fight. But you should be prepared for a fight by staying healthy, being active, training the body to its fullest potential and everything. The mind, the muscles, they should all be used. We have a body and we use our visions. We need to see. We use what we have. And we can use our minds before we use our fists. And that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about street fights. Any other questions, anything you want to know, let me know. Like and subscribe. I just want peace. I just want people to be more knowledgeable. I want to help others, find a better solution for others. And, get us to stop making mistakes that we'll regret later on in life. And stop the violence. That's always the key. No violence. Violence does happen, but we can always prevent it. There's been but I'm gonna end it with this. There's been a lot of times where I could have been violent, but I chose not to. We can all make a choice, but don't make the wrong choice. Make the right one. Till next time, guys. Howdy.